better with age. Hi, I'm Rob King and welcome to the retrospective for the Planet Pale Ale. It has been 6 weeks since we tried the first bottle. What's it like 6 weeks later? Well, some of that aftertaste bitterness has definitely mellowed and time has smoothed this out a lot. This is not going to last very long. My re-evaluation 6 weeks later is it has only improved. The carbonation is still good, the clarity is amazing, it's got a lovely head, and that hoppy aroma has declined a little bit, but so has a little bit of that harsher bitterness. Delicious. So today in this retrospective we have 3 objectives. We're going to look at the vital statistics, we're going to look at price and cost, and then we're going to look at the lessons learned. Starting then with the schedule. This was a pretty quick one. It was all over within a month. Starting from the 6th of April, we had 3 days in primary fermentation, and then dry hops were added for 4 further days. We moved everything to secondary for a week and then bottled and kegged for carbonation and conditioning. So this was all ready by May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Moving on to the statistics. Our OG was just a touch high, but the final gravity was spot on. This ended with a nice 6.3% ABV versus a target of 6. The pH was a little high, but we corrected this with 5 milliliters of lactic acid. Throughout this homebrew, I was also testing out my new refractometer and comparing it to the hydrometer results. Throughout the brew, it was always 1 or 2 gravity points lower than the hydrometer reading. Overall, these small deviations resulted in a small margin of error. The end result, of course, was absolutely fabulous. Cheers. Moving on to costs, the total cost was £18 and 2 pence, and this breaks down as follows: water £5, grains roughly £7, hops £2, yeast £2, and then miscellaneous others such as water chemistry, nutrient and Irish moss that made up the remainder of the costs. There were a few costs not included as I used stock for 2 of the hops, and to be honest I think the Citra was probably starting to lose some of that flavour. I was expecting a greater Citra flavour from the dry hopping than I actually got. So totting all of this up and dividing by the 6.5 litres I got out at the other end, the cost really came out at £1.39 for a typical 500 millilitre bottle. That's not bad. My 4 litre keg meanwhile came in at just over £11. Lesson number 1 then is maximum capacity, and my Aldi mulled wine warmer has a maximum capacity of 16 litres. This wasn't quite enough for the brew, particularly when you add in the volume of grains, so that meant it needed a top up. Lesson number 2 then was the top up, and actually this gave me a little bit more control over the dilution of the final brew. Instead of topping up the full amount, I topped up just slightly short, and that meant that I was able to hit the final gravity spot on. There was a little bit of guesswork involved in that, but the end result was exactly where I wanted it to be. Lesson number 3 is the refractometer, and I'm still getting used to using a refractometer. But the real reason I want to get used to it is because I don't want to have to go through all that cooling activity in the early stages to get a reading. I want to be able to take the reading almost instantly, and the tiny amount needed for a refractometer can cool very quickly, giving me the reading much more quickly and simply. Well, lesson number 4 is my win. It was the food grade grease on the fermenter lid. After all my challenges in the Irish Stout and the comedy of 16 minutes trying to get the lid off, this time it just unscrewed. Food grade grease to the rescue. Lesson number 5 is my birthday gift of a hop spider, and it works terrifically to stop the bags clogging up the pipes for the pump. It means I can run the pump and not worry about those bags getting in the way or trying to prop my spoon in the way of the bags to prevent it from happening. The hop spider was a great result for helping me to make the brew day much simpler. Lesson number 6 is also the hop spider. So the disadvantage of the hop spider though is, geez, there's quite a lot of water that ended up trapped inside the hop spider, and it took quite a long time for that to filter through. I need to find a better method of getting that wort out of the hop spider without taking all the hop residue with me at the same time. Lesson number 7 is more philosophical. Do you cool the water from the bottom or do you cool the water from the top? Is there an advantage to one over the other? Good question. So on this occasion, I filled the cold water into the chiller from the bottom. I assumed that gives it more time to run through and cool from the bottom up. But is top down better or not? Your views would be welcome. Lesson number 8 then is back to the food grade grease, but on this occasion it was for the bucket. The seal on the bucket had been a bit problematic previously, but the addition of some food grade grease did seem to seal the bucket lid and make sure that it was airtight for the fermentation process. Thank you everybody for tuning into this retrospective. Do check out the original grain to glass recipe for all the step-by-step guide and chaos along the way. This is a brew that improved with age. This was a great result. I am so relieved. But in the meantime, cheers everyone. Do like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Take care. Cheers.